Tune in live to Futures Trade Radio by joining the MV3 Trade Engineers Discord, link in the description below. All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Futures Radio is live. This is being recorded to be posted later on YouTube. So this morning we got, overnight we had a lot of buying. We've already traded to the moon as far as NQ is concerned. Similar price action with the rest of the index futures. But right now in the pre-market, we're kind of, well, since the European session, the London session, we've been trading sideways. Starting to make an attempt to break that support that's created from that. We have here this balance level at 105. That's also basically the atmosphere of the moon that we're retesting right before the bell. Let me go ahead and mark out some zones. It's a little spotty this morning. Mark this one out too. Also, so yesterday was an interesting day because I started with the some automated trading just to test some things out. So I'm going to continue with that today from the screen that's being recorded. But I am also at the same time trading in my regular accounts. This one. That one could be tricky if we make it back down there. Near the 890.5 balance level. All right, we got about 4 minutes to the bell. Let me go back and make sure that I got everything ready to go. All right, trade copy is working as of right now. Daily reminders. The only goal is to trade the strategy to perfection. We have our profit target threshold, our profit threshold. That's going to indicate if I'm going to draw back or be done for the day. Always look at the big picture. Make sure we pull in the trigger as dictated by the strategy. And all of the other stuff is good to go. I think this is a good time to get the pre-market snapshot. And let me not forget to mark off the session highs and lows. We're more likely to see price trade back to the high than the low at this point, but anything can happen. And we've definitely seen major intense moves lately in this market within Q. Gotta make sure I stop drinking near my mic. That's been picking up. Okay, I just did that. Let's see what I can do here. Let me see. All right, so this zone right here above our 105 balance level is serving as an inventory zone for right now. Before the open, they are holding price there. And note to self, I'm trying not to focus too much on my journal today. It was kind of distracting yesterday, but it was all right because I wasn't really pulling the trigger myself. I was testing the automated trading system. Let me open this up a little bit. All right, so we are open and I got our first signal, but that didn't trigger because the time, I have it set by time, but it looks like we're seeing some momentum, some buying interest right here at the open. It's not working out as quickly as I would like it to. Oh, I forgot I changed this around. This is the wrong window. I was testing some things yesterday. I wonder why I was printing so quickly. So there's a trigger. It's a late trigger for what I would like to see, but that's just the way these automated trading systems are not perfect. Like I had a couple late entries yesterday, some none entries where I would want to have been for places that I would have wanted to take, or for trades that I would have wanted to be in. I don't know why I can't talk this morning, but this looks like it wants to roll over. Well, they are kind of holding price here inside of the moon. Nothing really technical to read at this point. We're above the mechanics. This could potentially turn into hopefully this turns into a zone where we come from our inventory zone and our session high, which is also serving as a supply zone. Next first target. Now the ideal location if I was to take this trade would be right here where I have my stop loss at 120. Just taking a break of that micro range. And that's one thing I need to remember. But actually, well, no. So that was first target. So the way that it's automated, the way that I'm doing this automated system, is the entry is automated, but then the exit, I control the exit if it doesn't hit target, whichever comes first. There's my break even. That printed for a continuation. Let's see if we get it. It looks like we have some front run of the session high. Getting some follow through, but not with much momentum. And that's gonna take me out right there. I got a signal that I'm testing out also for this automated system in terms of the exit. Not a bad start. Now, I don't know why that took. See, this is why I don't really like to trade in automated systems live. If I do an automated system, I only like to test it because I have no idea. That didn't fit any of my criteria to take that one long, even though it ended up being an actual, good trade from the perspective of a profit, but not from following the strategy. That is interesting. So we're at the session high now. We have a new session high, but we're running into this 176.5 balance level. Seeing a slight response there. Nothing strong as of yet. And there's a major response. We have sell interest right there at the 176 level, back inside of our pre-market range. Sell participation is starting to pick up. Not with a whole lot of momentum from my perspective. Making a major move back into our inventory range. Next area of interest right here that I'll be looking at is around 120 where we have some mechanics. Just to see what kind of, if we get a response there, to see how mechanical we're trading this morning. Also below that, I will have my inventory zone. And we're just gonna call it 100 for simplicity. 16,100. we are getting a response off some of the mechanics in somewhat of a front run fashion. This gives us some sort of an idea of what kind of participation we can have this morning. Also, as a mental note, that second trade, even though it was a lucky trade, because it should not have been in that one, but that would have taken me to my threshold where I'm going to decide if I'm going to be done for the day or if I'm going to pull back. So I make these mental notes just to keep it, just to make sure that the awareness is where it should be. I know I've found out that it helps to verbalize the things that I have within inside of my plan, inside of my strategy, as well as visualize it before as preparation to my trading session, just to make sure that stuff is, and let's make sure I'm holding the frequency of that as I should be while I'm trading. I don't know if that really made any sense, because I'm watching this price action and trying to think of what I'm saying at the same time. I had another thought coming into the middle of that thought process. So interestingly, we got so we're seeing a buys pick up, but price is trading in the opposite direction. Okay. This will be a mechanical entry for me. However, I didn't take it in my regular accounts. So even though it took it here, the automated system took it here. This is not a location that I would actually have taken, simply because it didn't trade into a zone like I would want it to. I like to take my trades outside of zones that has the highest probability of seeing participation from a majority of the traders that are participating currently in the market. So for me, I didn't read that as one of those situations, even though we do have the mechanics there. And there is a little bit of interest there that we can see from hindsight. And this one worked out again. Another one where I normally would not have taken. So far it is working out. Back inside of that zone, inside of our previous session high zone. And that took me out break even. So what I just said about me not necessarily taking this trade here, that happened yesterday, where it took the automated system took a lot of trades that I normally would not take, and the result, I had a really good start, and then the rest of the day just turned out into a disaster. Like, that right there should not have triggered either. So I'm gonna have to look at why all of these are triggering like that, because I'm not even supposed to be long in any of these trades until it goes above the high of the previous candle. And as we can clearly see, the high is here around 158, yet the entry is below that. It's very interesting. My automated trade system has some over trading going on. So that last 1 minute did sort of print as a reversal, not a strong reversal, but for a reversal we do have to make it through the mechanics that we've seen a response. Our buyers are not done. And for me, this is just mostly wholesale type price action. Our market makers, we don't have any real heavy participation from the way that I'm reading this as of right yet, or as of for now. We're retesting that previous session high, the overnight session high. Earlier that turned into a look above and fail. Let's see if we, from a probability standpoint, a lot of times that's the second test of that break higher does work out or does play out, and we get a little bit of follow through. However, this could turn into a double top from a 1 minute or also a 3 minute perspective. There we go, breaking into new session highs. At the top of the moon right there at 199, where I'll be looking for a first response. Beyond that, that's where, I'm calling that deep space where anything can happen. But we do have a 248 balance level up there. And that is my exit. Actually, I took that exit kind of quickly. I think I'm gonna have to go back and review that. This is why we practice. This is why we have, I call these scrimmage sessions, where I go and I have something new where I practice it, but now I want to test it in a live environment. But I do that in sim mode just to make sure everything is locked in within myself before I start trading it with real money. Pausing here above our 176.5, that printed as a continuation on the 1 minute, and it triggered me yet again. Too aggressive. I know why that one triggered, but so that's something that if I wanted to make this perfect, I would have to fix that, because it's not supposed to take continuations like that. Not saying the kind of momentum that I would want for a continuation. The continuations that I like are momentum plays. And that, again, that doesn't mean that it's not going to continue trading higher. We just don't have the momentum that I would like to see. It's just personal preference. Retesting over that 176.5. Let's see if we break down, or do we turn this into an inventory? Probably looking to see what kind of price action we get below that balance level. We're peeking up below it, taking me to my stop loss. We have some buy interest there. Absorb that little micro selling right there, and now we're taking prices higher ever so slightly. Seeing a sell response here at my trigger. They're just battling it out here, keeping this tight, this range tight. The way this price action is working right now is a good chance that we dip back to our 176 balance level. There's the dip. Really tight range that they're keeping price in at this moment. Buyer step back up, giving us a little push. And since I wasn't supposed to take that, I was going to go ahead and take it there. Take the profits there, or kill the trade on that one. It's also, testing this out gives me a chance to test out my reaction, not just when things go right or when things go according to plan, but when things don't go according to plan, because automated or not, we do have those moments where we make mistakes. And what's important when we do make those mistakes is how do the awareness, and then how do we react to that? What is our response? So the more that you practice the response in these situations, the less you have to think about it. And if you don't practice them, and you're trying to think about it in the moment, you're likely to freeze up because you don't know what to do. You know, your money's on the line, you may be panicking or whatever. So if you practice that, then it becomes, you know, just muscle memory and second nature. And you just execute what you've already practiced, what you've already tested, that you know that works for you. And you just, you know, let the results be what they are. So let me see if this takes this one again as a continuation. Okay, I got a signal there, but it didn't trigger. So that's a good thing. And there I go again, drinking into the mic. So far, I haven't received any real triggers that for me to take in my regular accounts. I tend to be a little less aggressive when we're trading this far away from the mean. Which is, you know, the only kind of real trigger that I can see here in hindsight is back here with the response off the mechanics. So we got this little slow creeping price action as of right now, where we're just grinding our way higher. Eventually, we should see an exhaustion of buyers, as they've been buying for a while in today's session. We should lead up to some significant retracement. I personally would want to retrace back to our 16,100 level or range. Actually, that's not even. Yep. So yeah, now we're in deep space. The next level I'll be looking at above here is 248. Of course, from today's session, we don't have any real data other than that to go off of. I could look at historical stuff from other days, but for me personally, that's not necessary. We peak below that last 1 minute print. And continuing to grind higher. That turned into an inside pair. Understanding the sentiment of that should mean there's a likelihood that we can keep climbing higher there. If we don't, then that shows us that we have some buyers right there where price turned around. So we got a lot of buying in this, what we're trading at right now. So with all this buy interest, there's a good chance if we get enough sellers that jump into this market, we get enough supply, that we can have a potential stop loss run short. Again, we're saying the buy response at this point. This is at my 199 power range level. What is that, like PR plus 11? It's at the top of the moon. So we're bouncing around off the top of the moon. Let's see if we have another fuel to keep going into deep space. As of right now, it appears that we are running out of fuel. Or we could be refilling the tank. Watching the high of the last 1 minute, basically 16,220. Let's see if we make it there, and if we do, what kind of response do we get? Getting some order flow, breaking above that micro range. I personally definitely would not want to be long up here. This is where our key participants start looking to trap, new participants. And it goes without saying, of course, just because I said it doesn't mean that's what has to happen. In the words of Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. Continuing to grind higher. Not the most exciting price action to call out, personally. However, personally for me, kind of selfishly, these are my less active days. When prices like this, when we have this sort of price action, usually take much less trades or not any trades at all. So it works out for me in terms of futures radio because it is really challenging to do this kind of narration and trade at the same time. So from that perspective, it's a good day. Also, it helps to have the automated system with this. At this point, I'm just kind of going back and just tapping into Hindsight Capital and seeing if there were any potential triggers that I could have missed. And I'm not really seeing anything. It's like we got a bit of a front runner of, well, that's my level. So this is a mathematical level. So this 248 balance level. Oh, that's balance. So I was thinking that was my power range. So there are a lot of, let's just call them smart money that uses balance. That uses this ideology, but at the same time, it's discretionary in terms of how you put it on your charts. So doesn't necessarily mean that anyone else is particularly watching these levels that I watch, the same levels. But if we're, if you're looking at it from a perspective, or if you're looking at the balance, you're usually going to create a range if you're trying to use balance levels. I need to go ahead and make that video explaining what I mean by that. Still have some buyers in here, even though we caught some sellers near 248. Now some of this micro buying, this quick buying is, definitely, profit taken from anyone who tried to fade this short. So I'm saying that just to say, just because there's buying doesn't mean that we have the, all of the participants who bought there are trying to go long. This could just be short covering, or it could also be short covering. Once again, we get a mechanical response. Potential trigger coming up, which again, this is not the location where I would be wanting. This is not the location where I would want to enter into a trade. But we do have a potential trigger here. Let's see, I haven't been marking these zones off. I'll go ahead and mark this one. The last 2 minute print as an inside pair. Still looking for a potential trigger higher. One that I will not take. Now, one of my favorite moves, if I was looking to fade this, if we do get a print above or to where my trigger is, but then we dip back inside of that range and we start trading short, that's what I call a market maker move, to where it could be an indication of a decent short opportunity if I wanted to fade it. And there's a trigger. Looking for a follow through or the fail. I have about 6 minutes in my trade window, so more than likely this is going to turn into a no trade today for my other accounts. Or no trade day. Automated testing only. NQ is really starting to test this deep space. Finding a quick response off of the 248 balance level. These balance levels have been consistent today. So if I was looking to be aggressive up here, I definitely could have been aggressive off of balance. Which I think we only had like one of those situations come up. It's right there. Unless I wanted to fade it. That last 2 minute printed as a continuation. There's the break. It's turning it, so far it's turning into a look above and fail. Are we running out of fuel, or are we just cooling off the engines? And there we go. Nope, just took it. It's continuing to grind higher. When we dip back inside of that continuation pair, we did see buyers jump right in there, which gave us this little slow push into new session highs off of our 248 balance. And the grind continues. I think the theme of today is going to be anything is possible. I'm going to make a note of that for when I post this later. Alright, so that takes me to the end of my trade window. And we're just continuing to grind higher here. Back to our 248 balance. Let's see, we're still getting a response there. The question from here is, when do we run out of fuel? And then do we need to make a trip back to either the moon or to Earth? And collect some fresh inventory. Kind of mixed analogies there, but I think you should get the point. So what's likely from here? So at some point, I definitely can see us having some sort of retracement. I mean, it's still early. We're only just under an hour into today's session. So, and we're kind of far away from where we started today's session, aka the mean. So I do see a high probability of seeing some sort of retracement. Now where that goes, of course, no one knows other than the people that are moving the market around. They have a better idea, but as it's retail traders, we don't know. So just be prepared for anything. If I was continuing to trade this, I'll be using my zones to look for areas to where I could maybe be a participant if we do see that retracement. As I said before, I do like the bottom of the moon here, right there where we came from. I'm just gonna call it 100, where we have a balance level there, and that's the low of the moon. However, I could also see this kind of with the participation that we have. Not a ton of volume, but compared to what we've seen the last several days, but there's a slight possibility that we can find a range up here and just continue to trade within this range. Any one of those is possible. We could also keep grinding higher, which would be something that rarely happens. And I've been watching these power ranges for over a year now. Actually, I think I started this last summer maybe. And that rarely happens to where we trade that far outside of the my power range zones for NQ. That's something that happens more so with like the euro currencies or maybe gold, sometimes crude, but with NQ it doesn't happen that often. So that's where I can see us going from here. And this is going to bring us to the end of Futures Radio session today. Hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Stick to the strategy and all that good stuff. Until the next one, trade it easy.